Michael C. Hall went out into the streets of New York City and stalked real people without their knowledge to prepare for this role. Not fictional targets, not actors in a controlled exercise, random strangers.
The thing I did do, I tried to get a sense of what it felt like to stalk people. So when I was living in New York, when I was getting ready to do the show, and I would go out to a restaurant or a bar and find someone who seemed to be alone and endow them with reprehensible characteristics.
He selected them in restaurants and subway stations, assigned them imaginary crimes in his head, and followed them through the city in silence, testing what it felt like to move through the world as a predator selecting prey. He described the exact methodology in a documented interview. He explained the tactical rules, and then he said, in his own words, confirmed in that documented interview and cited across multiple entertainment publications, that the whole thing was really easy.
I just wanted to see what it felt like to follow someone covertly. It was really easy.
But that is not even close to the most disturbing thing on this list today. I am talking about an actor who read actual transcripts of interviews with convicted serial killers before he filmed a single scene, who spent sessions with a clinical psychologist studying the neuroscience of psychopathy, and who built a preparation technique where he ran 2 simultaneous streams of consciousness inside his own head during every scene he ever shot across 8 seasons. I am talking about a man who used his own father's death as the emotional raw material for a serial killer's psychology, then watched that choice become something so personally accurate that he has been describing the toll it took in careful, precise language across 2 decades of interviews. And I am talking about a man who filmed an entire season of the most watched show on Showtime while secretly managing a cancer diagnosis, who started chemotherapy the day after the cameras stopped, who planned to wear a wig through the next season so nobody would ever know, who only came forward because he realized his missing eyebrows might give it away at the awards ceremonies, and who then walked onto a stage at the Golden Globes, bald from treatment, and accepted the award for playing a character whose entire existence is built around hiding what is real. The age at which all of that happened was 38, 1 year younger than the age his father had been when he died. And Hall confirmed on the record to the New York Times in 2010 that he had been preoccupied with that number since he was 11 years old. This is not a story about a great performance. It is a story about how far a man went to build one, what that building cost him personally, and what it left behind when it was over. Every claim in what follows is sourced, confirmed, and documented. So let me break it all down from the very beginning. Dexter premiered on Showtime on October 1st, 2006, confirmed in the show's official broadcast record. The show follows Dexter Morgan, a blood spatter analyst for the Miami Metro Police Department who secretly kills criminals who have escaped the justice system. It ran for 8 seasons, concluding on September 22, 2013, confirmed in the list of Dexter episodes on Wikipedia. The Season 4 finale, which aired on December 13, 2009, drew a record-breaking audience of 2.6 million viewers, making it the most watched original series episode in Showtime history at that time, confirmed in the show's Wikipedia entry citing Showtime's own broadcast data. The series finale, which aired September 22, 2013, drew 2.8 million viewers, the largest audience in Showtime's history at that time, confirmed by The Hollywood Reporter on September 23, 2013. Michael C. Hall received 6 total Emmy nominations for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series for the role, without ever winning, which ties a record for the most nominations in that category without a win, confirmed by the Television Academy. He won the Golden Globe for Best Performance by an Actor in a Television Drama at the 67th Golden Globe Awards on January 17, 2010, confirmed in the Golden Globe's official record. He accepted that award wearing a knit cap over a bald head. The audience had been told 3 days earlier that he had cancer, but here's the part that will reframe everything else you are about to hear. 3 days is not the real gap in that timeline. The real gap is much longer. And once you understand the actual sequence of what happened, the award, the cap, the bald head, all of it means something entirely different from what most people took from that night. Hall was born on February 1, 1971 in Raleigh, North Carolina, confirmed in his biographical record on Wikipedia. His father, William Carlisle Hall, died of prostate cancer in 1982. His father was 39 years old. Hall was 11. He told the New York Times in 2010 the exact shape of what that left behind. His documented words, "I think I've been preoccupied since I was 11 and my father died, with the idea of the age 39. Would I live that long? What would that be like?" He graduated from New York University's Tisch School of the Arts graduate acting program in 1996, confirmed in his official biography. He spent years building his craft in classical theater, working off-Broadway and on Broadway. and received a Tony Award nomination for the Broadway revival of Cabaret directed by Sam Mendes. He moved from there to HBO's 6 Feet Under in 2001, spending 5 seasons playing a repressed man who manages a funeral home and cannot show the world his interior life. When Dexter came along in 2006, he did not arrive at the material cold. He arrived with a decade of training in how to perform internal complexity underneath an exterior that gives nothing away, and with a very specific personal archive of what it actually felt like to be a man who learned early that certain things had no public-facing language. Now let me get into the preparation, because each layer of this is more unsettling than the last, and every single one of them is sourced and documentable. The stalking. Let me start there because it is the one that is most immediately shocking and also the one Hall described most precisely. Hall confirmed in an interview with Vulture, documented by Daily Actor and cited across multiple entertainment publications, that before the first season of Dexter went into production, while he was still living in New York, he went out deliberately into public spaces to practice surveillance on real strangers. His exact documented words, "I pretended to stalk people. I wasn't actively stalking people, but I did follow them. If there was somebody alone, I'd follow them around just to see what it felt like. No syringe though. Maybe go down on the subway and stay a car away. Try not to get noticed, just to see what it felt like." He then described the tactical logic of the exercise. His exact words, confirmed in the same documented interview. The key was distance. Don't get too close, and if you feel like you might be spotted, relocate, cross the street. It was pretty easy, especially if it's the busy part of the day. Let me say precisely what that means and does not mean. Hall was not dangerous to those people. He did not approach them. He specifically said there was no syringe, but he selected lone strangers in a city, assigned them imaginary guilt in his mind, and practiced the predatory mechanics of following a human being without being detected, specifically to build the physical and psychological vocabulary of what a hunter feels while tracking a target. And then he reported back that the mechanics came naturally, that the technique was easy to execute, that a crowded city makes it remarkably simple to move through someone's world without them knowing you are there. That experience is in the performance, the flat observational calm of the early seasons, the way Dexter appraises other people from a distance that registers as scientific rather than emotional, the specific quality of attention Hall brings to scenes where the character is assessing whether someone qualifies as a target. He tested those mechanics on real human beings in real urban space before he ever stood in front of a camera, confirmed what worked, and brought that discovered ease into the character. Now the research layer. Because the stalking was just the physical calibration. What Hall did with the psychology of the role is something else, and it goes considerably deeper. Hall confirmed in an interview with Jonathan Ross, documented by Soap Central in a 2025 report, that his foundational research included reading actual transcripts of interviews with convicted serial killers and books written by FBI profilers. His exact confirmed words from that interview: "I have read transcripts of interviews with serial killers, books by FBI profilers." He also participated in a documented public conversation on the clinical psychology of psychopathy with Kevin Dutton, author of The Wisdom of Psychopaths: What Saints, Spies, and Serial Killers Can Teach Us About Success, at the Rubin Museum of Art in New York City. Scientific American confirmed this event and shared audio of the conversation. In that documented exchange, Hall engaged seriously with the clinical distinction between functional and criminal psychopaths, the specific neurological role of impulse control in whether a psychopath operates functionally within society or destructively outside it, and what Dexter's documented character trait of becoming calmer as pressure increases reveals about his place on the psychopathic spectrum. This was not a press appearance. This was an actor doing academic-level psychological research on the clinical architecture of the condition he was performing in public with a credentialed author in the field, because he needed the interior logic of that psychology to hold across 8 years of continuous performance. And he built something out of that research that almost nobody has examined as a preparation technique. Something that he described to the Globe and Mail in July 2025 in the context of the most recent Dexter series, Dexter: Resurrection, which premiered on Paramount Plus on July 11, 2025, confirmed in the show's production record. He described the specific technical challenge of the voiceover. The inner monologue that runs through every episode is filmed separately in a recording room after production. But Hall confirmed that when he is shooting the scenes themselves, he already knows what the voiceover will say, and he thinks those thoughts in real time while performing the spoken dialogue. His exact confirmed words: "I try to know that thought and think that thought. Two simultaneous streams of consciousness, running in parallel, Every scene, for 8 seasons spanning 96 episodes in the original run alone, confirmed in the Wikipedia episode list. What the other actors saw was one layer of the performance. What the audience heard in voiceover was another layer. Hall built and maintained both in real time, simultaneously on set, as a technical discipline. He practiced thinking like Dexter while appearing to do something else. Because that is exactly what the character does, in every scene, always. Now here is where the preparation moves from technique into something considerably more personal. And this is the part that Hall has been circling in careful language across 20 years of interviews, without ever quite landing on it with full directness. Because the most direct version of it is also the most revealing. Hall confirmed to the New York Times in 2021, documented by Best Life in their 2022 report drawing on that sourcing, that he is drawn to characters who have some sort of stormy interiority that they don't feel free to let out. He said, "Maybe that's how I experience my own life. Maybe I experience it less in my life for having the chance to take it into my work." Best Life's 2022 report, drawing on New York Times sourcing, also confirmed that Hall's own father's death from cancer had given him emotional access to Dexter's darker impulses. Specifically, that Hall had learned after his father died that showing the full range of his feelings was not appropriate, so he learned to cover up those feelings, and then later learned to channel them into acting. The New York Times is the documented source for that account. Dexter Morgan is defined at his psychological core by a father who died when he was a child and left behind a code designed to give a son's internal darkness a structure it could live inside. The whole show is built on the specific emotional weight of a dead father's voice inside a living son's head. And Hall arrived at that character having spent his entire adult life managing the specific emotional weight of a father who died too soon, in a way that had no appropriate public language, in a way that had shaped his entire relationship with his own interior life since 1982. That is not a coincidence in the casting. That is the raw material the character was built on. Now let me tell you about the preparation method nobody planned for, the one that arrived from outside Hall's control during the production of the season that is universally considered the creative peak of the entire run. Season 4 of Dexter aired from September to December 2009 and carried an 88% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, the highest of any season in the show's run, confirmed in the series' Wikipedia entry. Its finale, which aired December 13, 2009, drew 2.6 million viewers, a record for Showtime at that time. It featured John Lithgow as the Trinity Killer, a performance that won Lithgow the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series at the 62nd Emmy Awards in August 2010, confirmed by the Television Academy. During the filming of that season, Hall was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. That is confirmed by CBS News in their January 13, 2010 report. He was 38 years old. 1 year younger than the age at which his father had died of the same disease that preoccupied him from childhood. He told the New York Times, "To discover that I had the Hodgkin's was alarming, but at the same time, I felt kind of bemused, like, wow, huh? How interesting." He told nobody, not the cast, not the production, not Showtime. He completed season 4 in total silence. The day after filming wrapped, he began chemotherapy, confirmed in the My Lymphoma Team report documenting his diagnosis history. His original plan was to wear a wig through season 5 so that nobody would ever need to know. According to his own documented statement, confirmed by Soap Central, he changed that plan only because he realized his missing eyebrows might raise suspicion at the awards ceremonies. On January 13, 2010, his agent confirmed the diagnosis publicly via statement to CBS News and outlets across the entertainment press. On January 17, 2010, at the 67th Golden Globes, Hall walked on stage in a knit cap, accepted the award for Best Actor in a Drama Series, and thanked his writers. Somewhere in that room was the cast of a show that he had filmed an entire season with while carrying a cancer diagnosis in complete silence, who had found out the same way everybody else had. From the statement, 4 days before the ceremony. During season 5, Hall wore a human hair wig to conceal his chemotherapy hair loss, confirmed in the Dexter fan wiki. On April 25, 2010, Jennifer Carpenter announced in a statement that his cancer was fully in remission and he was returning to work, confirmed by CBS News. Now here is why that specific timeline is not just a health story, but a preparation story. Best Life's 2022 report confirmed, drawing on New York Times sourcing, that Hall's experience of concealment around his father's death shaped his emotional access to Dexter's psychology. The cover-up reflex. The discipline of performing normalcy while carrying a private reality that the people around you cannot access. Hall had been building that discipline since 1982. Season 4 was the season where he was doing it for real, in production, not as a character choice, but as a live condition of his actual life. He was performing a man who hides everything from everyone, while hiding something from everyone, while filming the most critically acclaimed season of his career. And yet the performance during that season, the one he has said was affected by the personal weight he was carrying, was the one that won him the Golden Globe. That is either a coincidence or it is a confirmation of what he told the New York Times, that taking the darkness somewhere useful produces something the audience recognizes as true. But the cost of that transaction is the part that never makes it into the celebration of the performance. And Hall has documented that cost too, across several years of interviews, in language that becomes more revealing each time you read it in sequence. Hall confirmed to The Hollywood Reporter in 2018, documented by Daily Actor, that the years of inhabiting Dexter Morgan left something behind that required active work to clear. His exact confirmed words, "I think that if you spend that much time preoccupied with whatever you were simulating, that a part of you is affected, and a part of you is recording the simulated experience in a way that is more than just fluff. A part of you is absorbing it and marinating in it. It takes some time to get it out of your system and to unlearn whatever increasingly ingrained reflexive behavior results from doing something for that long." Absorbing, marinating, increasingly ingrained reflexive behavior that required active unlearning. That is not a description of a clean performance that ended when the director called cut. That is an actor documenting a process of psychological contamination with precise and careful language because he is fully aware of what happened and does not have simpler words for it. He was asked at San Diego Comic-Con, in an interview documented by Dexter Daily in July 2025, whether it was harder to get into the character or harder to get out. His answer was immediate. He said, "I would say out of." He elaborated, "I have found, finishing up this season, it's taken a little longer to stop that phase where you're just sort of standing there in the middle of the grocery store aisle wondering what to do with yourself. Standing in an ordinary space, still inside the psychology of a serial killer, not knowing what to do next without the character's logic to organize the moment. The parallel to the show is almost too exact to sit with. Dexter Morgan spends every episode of that show standing in ordinary spaces performing normalcy, while the dark passenger organizes everything underneath. The audience always sees both layers. The people in the scene never do." Hall described the residue of 8 years of that performance as still standing in a grocery store and Dexter's organizing logic after the camera stopped. In speaking to The Hollywood Reporter about the end of the original run, documented by Dexter Daily in their 2013 coverage, Hall said, "All of a sudden it was driving me crazy that I was playing these scenes. It was like I was allowing myself to feel the full weight of what I'd been simulating because it was almost over. 8 years of simulated darkness, held at a managed and deliberate distance, allowed to land with its full weight only when the end of the simulation made the compartment no longer necessary to maintain. That is what the preparation for Dexter Morgan cost. Not at the beginning, when the stalking and the research and the dual-track voiceover technique were being built. At the end, when everything that had been held at distance across the full duration of the performance finally had nowhere else to go. And then there is what happened when Showtime brought it all back. Dexter, New Blood premiered on Showtime on November 7, 2021, confirmed in the show's Wikipedia entry. It averaged more than 8 million weekly viewers across all platforms, according to Variety reporting from January 2022, citing Showtime's own data, making it the most watched series in Showtime history at that time. Hall served as an executive producer on that production, confirmed in the show's Wikipedia entry. He told Showtime in a promotional interview, documented by SurvivorNet, that returning to the character's dark side had been easier than expected. His exact confirmed words, "It was really pretty easy to give over to that." And in a separate confirmed interview, he described the experience of returning as like discovering that this person that you thought you'd put away has been there all along, off somewhere having his dream, and you just turn the cameras back on. The character had been there the entire time. Having his dream, waiting. Hall turned the cameras back on for New Blood in 2021, and he turned them back on again for Dexter. Resurrection, which premiered on Paramount Plus on July 11, 2025, confirmed in Wikipedia's production record. As of that premiere, Hall has now been performing this character across 19 years of his professional life, across 4 distinct productions, across 96 original episodes and counting. He has carried the dual-track voiceover technique, the psychological architecture he built from serial killer transcripts and clinical psychology research, the emotional raw material sourced from the loss of his father, and the behavioral residues of 8 years of absorption and marination through 2 decades of continuous return. Dexter Morgan's code, The system installed by a dead father to give a dark impulse a structure it could operate inside without destroying everything around it is the spine of the entire franchise. The code is what separates Dexter from the version of himself that would have been ungovernable. It is the discipline of concealment made into a set of rules that the character can live by. Hall told The New York Times in 2021, documented by Best Life in 2022, "Maybe I'm drawn to characters who have some sort of stormy interiority that they don't feel free to let out. Maybe that's how I experience my own life." He followed real strangers through New York City and found the predatory mechanics easy. He read FBI profiler books and serial killer transcripts and took clinical sessions on psychopathy. He built a dual-stream consciousness technique to run the character's inner voice and outer performance simultaneously in every scene. He sourced the emotional architecture from a father's death that had shaped his interior life since he was 11 years old. He then managed a cancer diagnosis during the most acclaimed season of the production in total silence and started chemotherapy the day the cameras stopped. He accepted the Golden Globe for all of it, bald and in a knit cap, while the people he had worked with all season found out from a press statement. And after 8 years of absorbing and marinating in the interior logic of a serial killer, he said got easier to return to than expected, who had been there the whole time having his dream. The most honest thing in his documented record is this: he is still in that grocery store. He does not entirely know what to do with himself when the dark passenger has no code to run. The preparation for Dexter Morgan never really ended. The cameras just stopped for a while between seasons. Drop this in the comments if you think any other actor could have built what he built and survived what that building required, because I genuinely do not know the answer to that one.